fabulous, brilliant, amazing members all over the world. It is, as ever, my great pleasure to introduce you back to Jenny Hogan, the Relocation Consultancy in the UK. Jenny, I think this is the third or fourth time that we've spoken in an interview, and it's always great to see you. Always lift my spirits. We're just having a bit of chat there. We thought, better start recording. We'll just go on all day. How are you doing?
Yes, all right. I'm just turning my phone off. That's inappropriate. Yes, good, thank you. I am now sporting very dark hair and very long hair and no nails. So, you know, I'm starting to feel COVID fatigue.
I think so many of us are. I mean, do you want to just first of all run through the situation as it is right now in the UK? Because I know obviously it's different between England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland.
Yes.
What's happening where you are? You're based in the southeast outside London.
Yes, that's right. So we're based in Reading, and we have been in lockdown. We've been in various tiers towards the end of last year. We had a lockdown in November, and then you're in Kent, aren't you? So
up in Suffolk.
Suffolk. Oh,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So we had various tiers. Tier 4 was practically a lockdown. So over Christmas, you know, people weren't. There was no proper Christmas, and then we went into a full nationwide lockdown at the beginning of January, and we've been there ever since. So non-essential shops are all closed, bars, restaurants, gyms, hairdressers, nail bars. So basically it's just supermarkets and you know, what they say are essential shops like hardware shops and things like that. So we were just saying, if you want to go shopping, you have to go to a supermarket to look at clothes. And it's getting quite boring. But there was quite a big change in our quarantine rules that came into effect from yesterday. And now if you come from 33 what they call red zone countries, which are basically South America, South Africa, Portugal, you have to go into a quarantine hotel for 10 days. When you arrive, it costs you £1,750, and you're not allowed out for those 10 days. Anywhere else, if you're coming into the UK, you now have to continue to isolate 10 days, which is the same as normal, but now you have to have taken the test before you travel, 72 hours before you travel, which is normal. But now they've introduced that you have to do another test 2 days after you arrive, and then another test 8 days after you arrive. So I suppose in the loosest form, you could say our borders are open, but with provisions of where you're coming from. So
it's an extraordinary thing. I know that Tad's been working with this lobby group, the Relocation Survivors Group, and they've now got a lobbyist, and there's a parliamentary committee, not a committee, that's the wrong word, that's too formal, it's a parliamentary group, which is looking at how those rules can be altered for people who are coming into the UK with a company like you. They would be able to, that you could vouch that the hotel stay goes down to 5 days, and that you can then start putting people into either temporary accommodation or what have you. But by the time that something like that actually happens, this will be a policy. You know?
We're a year down the track, and we've only just brought these rules in. It makes you wonder if it's, you know, a little bit late. I mean, I can understand them coming in, but why did they not come in before if it was that much of an issue?
To me, it doesn't make sense. I mean, but you know, how does that impact on you and the movement of people through the Relocation Consultancy?
So we don't know what the new quarantine rules, the impact will have specifically. Work-wise, most of our work, although we went into lockdown in January, the housing market stayed open this time, but schools were closed. So in theory, we could still take people out, or we could do virtual viewings and things, which we have done. But I would have to say the majority of the work that we're getting now is being booked for the spring and early summer.
Right.
So there's no particular rush for people to come, I think, at the moment. I do have a family coming from Hong Kong tomorrow, and they're going into a service department, and I'm going to drop off a food pack for them to get them through the first sort of 7 days or something, and then they can do it. Yes, but it's not ideal.
No, not at all. I mean, I suppose so we were talking just now about, what is the UK's roadmap out of this? Because the vaccination program's been very successful, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we've gone great guns with the vaccination program, and we were just sort of saying we're slightly frustrated, and we're waiting. Boris is supposed to give another talk next week, I think the 22nd, with his roadmap out of lockdown. It sounds as though schools will reopen from about the 8th of March, but that's not been confirmed yet. But I think that's sort of what. Sorry, can you hear that yelping?
Oh, bless.
No, that's okay. We've got a new puppy, and
wow, how lovely. Have you?
So
that's nice.
She doesn't understand Zoom calls and interviews.
That's sweet.
Yes.
Well, that's good news. I like that.
Yes. So anyway, back to the serious stuff. So we're waiting to hear when and how the lockdown will be lifted. I suspect that we will go back into tiers.
Yeah. I think.
And previously they varied from sort of virtually being open to you were allowed to have 6 people in a house,
yes,
or in your garden or whatever, and sort of with varying degrees. So I suspect we'll go back into the tier system. But we were just saying, weren't we, slightly frustrated because we were told that when this lockdown happened, and admittedly, our infection rates and death rates at that point were soaring. So something had to be done. We were sort of told once the vulnerable and the over 70s had been vaccinated, then they'd be lifting restrictions. Well, we've hit that marker now.
Yes.
So that's where the 8th of March comes in, because they say 3 weeks from your vaccination. So if most people we hit the marker last week, the 8th of March is about 3 weeks from then. So we would be expecting to open up, slowly but surely, but the opening up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so where we are, our council, Mid Suffolk, currently has the lowest numbers in the country. But and that was the case in December, but we were still put into tier 3, which meant that basically, I think tier 3 was gyms could open and hairdressers were open, right? But that was it. All other non-essential retailers shut.
Yeah. And at Christmas, you could have 6 people.
I think so. I think you had 6 people in your house.
Yeah.
And then Boxing Day, it was
tier 4.
Yeah.
Tier 4, which was basically you couldn't have anyone in your house, and then it was full lockdown. So it's been long. We were saying it feels a long time, and because it's been winter as well.
Yes. Exactly.
But we are where we are, and we have light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I agree. This is where we all need to look. But like you say, it's gone on a long time.
It's funny. We had a client come over from India, and he was saying, I need to register with a GP, and he's in a service department because he wants to register to get his vaccine.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. I mean, exactly. And that's kind of the thing. And I don't think there's any. There's no restrictions on that? For
No.
Yeah,
you're registered with a doctor, and
yeah.
you're within the groups,
yeah,
the categories. I mean, some areas now in the UK are vaccinating the 60 pluses.
Yes.
And they're saying the 50 pluses by sort of April time. So,
yeah,
you know.
Good. I mean, it's remarkable that that's happened so well. I mean, you know, I was talking to a board member yesterday who said this is because they've allowed this to happen not nationally, but according to each individual health trust. That's why it's worked.
Yes.
Everything actually hasn't worked.
Quite possibly. And, you know, we do the flu jabs and everything every year. So they've probably got the processes in place, and it's a bit easier.
So tell me, what's the national mood? I think you probably alluded to it, we're all a bit bored. But you know, when you're talking to your friends and family, and how are people doing?
Bored. They're a bit fed up. I think they really, really now need to be given details of how and when we're getting out of this. But we were talking earlier about how we're slightly worried that people have sort of got used to this, and you know that the goalposts may change and people seem to be so accepting of it now. It's almost like they've got used to being told what to do, and of course you've got furlough going, so people are getting 80% of their salary for doing nothing. I mean, I personally, I'd just love to go out for a meal.
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. I mean, I look back, the last time we did anything like that was after the online conference we did in September. And just looking back, you know, we went to the coast, rented a cottage, went to for lunch every day. And that seems inconceivable now.
I know. You know, it would just feel so alien to go out and be served and, you know, have a meal somewhere.
I think you're completely right. I mean, we were saying before we started recording that, you know, the shift. I mean, I remember a very good friend of mine in Australia saying at the beginning, last March, saying it only takes 45 days for your neural pathways to change and accept very new routines. This has been nearly a year. You know, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to find re-entering the world very challenging.
I think so, and you know, they've been so scared about things for so long that you know, particularly the older generation, although I think now that they've got their vaccines, they're sort of much more relaxed.
They're ready to party, I tell you. My mother-in-law can't wait to go home because all her friends have been vaccinated, so they you know, they will be seeing each other whether they're allowed to or not.
Exactly. The older generation will be the new sort of party goers.
Stargalouts.
While we're awaiting.
Exactly. My mum used to say Stargalouts. This is for anyone who doesn't know. There's a company in the UK called Saga who specialise in holidays for the over 70s or whatever, and Stargalouts. They'll all be partying like crazy. I mean, it's.
I do think there's green shoots. I think there's green shoots for our economy. I think there's green shoots for everything opening up. And with regards to relocation, there's definitely people and companies wanting to move into the UK. They just keep stepping back for a month or two. And, you know, I think we're in a good place for a good second or third quarter of the year.
I agree with you completely. I think, and I was reading somewhere as well that there's this enormous, you know, for people who have continued as normal working from home in their jobs, nobody's gone on holiday, nobody's spent any money, nobody's bought a new car, there's this huge pool of money waiting to be spent.
Absolutely. So, and you know, from a relocation point of view, I do think there's definitely work going on behind the scenes. They're just not pressing the go button just yet. So,
that's really good to hear. That is really good to hear. And that's what I'm hearing. Well, it depends so much from country to country. As we were saying about India, you know, talking to one of our brilliant members in India, everything's open. So domestically, they're doing relocations as normal.
Yeah.
But here it's all very
Yes.
different in Europe.
Yeah. And I think, you know, the quarantine rules that have come in, they can be eased quite easily. And, you know, when it all started sort of last year, there were certain rules that came in about, you know, people coming into the country and the test and trace. And I know that wasn't a particularly good system, but that all sort of quietly filtered away a bit, didn't it? And wasn't really heard of again.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
So I think, you know, the quarantine rules have come in now, but as we get into a better place, they'll and then that will help with the global mobility as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, it will. I mean, that is absolutely key. And like I say, hopefully, you know, the lobby group that that's been put together will be able to. I mean, they're looking at all sorts of things like tax structures and, you know, different ways of promoting mobility into the UK.
Yes. Yeah.
Jenny, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thank you so much. Let's catch up again in the early summer, late spring.
Yes, that will be really interesting to see where we are. Yeah.
Maybe on a beach in Barbados. That'd be nice.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Wouldn't it be nice? It's a little.
Sadly, not in Seville though.
I know. That the disappointment of that has been, you know, everybody is just so desperate to get together.
Yes.
And, you know, we're going to try and do something in September in London, but again, who knows?
Yes.
We'll just keep plodding away until we can see each other.
Yes.
But it's lovely to see you. Thank you so much, Jenny. It's always a pleasure.
You're very welcome.
And we'll catch up in the summer.
Super.
Take care in the meantime. Oh, and enjoy the puppy.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye. Bye.